What's happening, Crispy Akiyama? Today we are here to do a deep dive on the lead vocals for Fashion's verse on the song Santiago and Nina, which is Fashion, producer Trent Taylor featuring Vel 9. And this is off of the You Owe Us With Interest project that I was fortunate to have mixed and mastered the whole thing. We got it featured on Double XL Vibe magazine, and Fash is on tour now too. So I wanted to go through and break down this specific verse because it was one of my favorite verses from him on the whole project, and just one of my favorite beats on the whole project too. And Vel 9 did her thing as well. I just really want to focus on Fash's verse though. So I'm just going to go through and play what we have from the get-go, and we will bring everything in. So this is what we have so far.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And Helen is gas. My heat'll leave your melanin rash.
Yeah, so the beat is dope. Trent really spazzed on that, and Fashion and Vel 9, they really did their thing on this song. So having had mixed Fashion's voice for 13 songs on the project, his recording setup, the mic he was using, I feel it didn't really complement his voice too much. Just his voice being in an upper register. I felt like a lot of the recordings were lacking just body in general, and they were presenting an amount of harshness that I was very aware of to make sure I dealt with, because this whole project, it's sample based, it's very laid back, warm, and so a lot of upper mid-range harshness is not synonymous with the things I just described this whole project as. So that's one of the main things that I was tackling. And let's go ahead and just kind of dive into this. So the first plugin that I used, and let me say this too, so this is my updated template. I did mix this using a different template. A few plugins were a little bit different. It's not too far off. But I am curious by the end of this if you guys think his vocals sound better on the version that's already out on all streaming platforms, or if you guys like this version of his vocals with this updated template. So you guys let me know. So first plugin we're bringing in is the Hazelrig Industries VLC. If you've watched anything from me, you know I'm a huge advocate for this plugin. I like using the mic saturation on vocals. I'll try that first. This has a really beautiful way of inflating the sound and also ironing out harshness at the same time. So I'm doing that, doing some subtle, or really not so subtle, but I'm doing some tone shaping. My ideology between this, because of how natural it sounds, is I want to see how far can I push the saturation and the EQ moves to sculpt the sound I want to make everything downstream on my vocal chain work more uniform with each other. All right. So how can this plugin set up the next plugin, and then the next plugin set up the next plugin, and vice versa? So let's go ahead and bring this in and out.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And Helen is gas. My heat'll leave your melanin rash. I'm decorated to death. Dedicated, I confess. Demonstrated how to flex. No debating, I'm the best. Levitated out the west. Took my talents to the east. Intolerant to disrespect. We leaving talents in the street. Cannabis and candy paint. Kaleidoscopic Cali dreams. K9s and valley streams. My side, the San Joaquin. Vel Nueve in your Jefe, big.
Okay, so see, just that alone right there it's adding more weight, and that saturation really ironing through that harshness and taming that mid-range and just helping relax and iron out the harshness in that mid-range. You hear it starting to relax further back into the rest of the arrangement. So my whole process is me chipping away one small thing at a time to help it relax more into the arrangement, specifically for the sound of this song in the project. So when we're talking about things, listen to, just the kind of preface for the rest of this video, listen to not only if things sound clearer or if things sound brighter or darker, but listen to the front to back. Listen for the imaging. I want you to imagine it moving forward or backward as I bring in each plugin. How is it reacting? Is it isolating itself further from the music, or is it including itself more in the arrangement? All right. So this is the first thing, channel strip, and then I bring these two plugins at once. I call this clipping with love. All right. And so basically I'm using a clipper to go through and do some dynamic reduce some dynamics, and then I put a saturator on just to kind of soften the clip signal. All right, so
you guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap brace is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And Helen is gas. My heat'll leave your melanin rash. I'm decorated till death. Dedicated, I confess. Demonstrated how to flex. No debating, I'm the best. Levitated out the west.
Just keeping some of those peaks in check. And we don't want to overdo it to where we're starting to like super distort things. But you know, this adds a nice little texture to the sound too. And then what we do is, I'm not worrying about doing any makeup gain after, you know, 1 to 2 dBs of clipping, because I'm putting this transient designer to bring in some of that attack back. I'm using Neutron 4.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My
cool, so we do that. Now you guys will see I have 3 de-essers in a row. It sounds excessive, and I wouldn't be mad if you guys thought that. Now, what I'm doing though is these are all targeting different ranges. So the first range is that anywhere between 2.5 to 4K, tackling more harshness. So let's listen to what I'm taking out.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets.
That's the first one. The second one, we're using the FabFilter Pro DS from 7K to 14K, or 7.5. This is what we're looking for.
Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon.
All right, and then this last one is the Waves de-esser. I'm going through and yanking out 9.2K. Let's listen to that.
I Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap brace is a drag. You always stepping in last.
Cool. Next thing I'm doing is I'm going through and using Pro Q3 strictly for the dynamic EQ in Pro Q3. So what I'm going through and doing is I'm playing it, and then
you guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash.
I'm doing this right here, right? Probably could tackle this one too. So I go through just like this, set it to make dynamic. Set the gain back to 0, and me personally, I like the 24 dB. I'll just bring it down about 3 dB gain reduction.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash.
Again, listen, just a reminder, listen to the image. Is it, as I bring this in and out, does it sound like it's being pushed forward more, or is it relaxing back into the stereo field?
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My
All right, so there's that. Let's go through and do this right here. So this Pro MB, I got this from Jason Joshua. He used the McDSP multi-band compressor, but I have the FabFilter one, so I just used it. And the trick is to set up 4 crossover points, 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10K, and then 10K and up. And all these points are going to have the same threshold, range, attack, release. And the thing is, you want to balance this middle crossover point to where these are doing roughly about the same amount of gain reduction. All right. But I like to go about 2 to 3 dB.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might. You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you. You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And hell in this gas. My heat'll leave your melanin rash. I'm decorated to death. Dedicated, I confess. Demonstrated how to flex. No debating, I'm the best. Levitated out the west. Took my talents to the east. Intolerant to disrespect. We leaving talents in the street. Cannabis and candy paint.
There we go. So we got that hitting where we want to. And this right here, this is a good indicator too. So if it's doing like noticeably and consistently more than 3 to 4 dB of gain reduction, that's letting me know I'm going into this too hot, basically. So that's why I was adjusting it here on the Pro Q3, turning it down through this output. So just like God Particle has indicators on it on the level and then the frequency range, you want to set your template up in a way that it has indicators. So if something is overshooting, where you typically have it, you typically have a plugin somewhere, and if it's over reacting to your signal, then it's probably a good sign that you need to adjust so you can have some consistency with your results. All right. So Kirchhoff EQ, now I'm bringing in a static EQ. Let's listen to that.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race.
So we're just going through and just taming some of that. I'll go to solo these out.
I might just buy a Tesla. When a heckler glass.
Guess I can solo it for this part. I don't ever really EQ in solo because it's all about context, but just to show you guys.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And hell in this gas. My heat'll leave your melanin rash. I'm decorated to death. Dedicated, I confess. Demonstrated how to flex. No debating, I'm the best. Levitated out the west. Took my talents to the east. Intolerant to disrespect. We leaving talents in the street. Cannabis and candy paint. Kaleidoscopic Cali dreams. K9s and Valley.
Cool. So we have that, and then now I'm going through and I have two of the same compressors up back to back. I know you might probably ask, why am I using the same plugin back to back? So what I love about this is it has the perfect amount of limitations and followed up by the perfect amount of flexibility. Right here, I have it set, you have 4 different ratios, 2-to-1, 4-to-1, 8-to-1, and 20-to-1. So the first one I am treating like a clean limiter, fastest attack, fastest release, no color. The color is emulating a transformer circuit, and then the warmth is a detection circuit. So this does not change the sound of the vocals or change the sound of the plugin, but what it does is it alters it decides what it's going to detect in order for the gain reduction to begin. So the higher you push this up, the more it's going to react to the high end, right? If you just keep it at 0, it's standard, right? So the first one I'm doing just gentle leveling, just trying to go for about 1 dB right here. And then right here, the one following it, I have the transformer circuit at 100, so standard, the warmth at 100, and then I adjust the attack and the release and switch the ratio. So with this, it almost works like a 1176 LA2A style thing where one catches peaks and the other one is for leveling. I'm going for the same thing, not necessarily the same sound, but a similar process though. So let's go ahead and bring these both in.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap brace is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but it's rhetoric bad. And Helen. Guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you.
And one thing that I've heard too, so the lower the ratio, the wider and fatter the sound. The more that you push the ratio, it's like it's narrowing the sound, but narrowing it in a sense of controlling the sound. So probably I like it at 2-to-1. It leaves a little bit more room.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do.
Now we're doing some additive work. So this right here, I'm going to do a plugin video on this too. This is from the Deep Vintage series. It's a Pultec EQ P1A. Honestly, this is probably the best one that I've heard. So when I bring this one in and out, I want you guys to listen for the weight that this is adding. Now I know I'm doing a dB, or excuse me, I'm doing a high end boost, but also just listen to the natural weight of this plugin, all right?
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap brace is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is good, but
there's an extra added sense of weight that's being added, and it's not like I'm boosting a bunch of low end right here. So we have that, and then at the end of my plugin chain, I always like having something, because I typically will boost high end on the second to last plugin on my chain, and then I like some type of saturation to just transparently catch that high end and just round it off. So right here I'm using the Nebula Alex B 9000K just in the lineup, and then listen to the weight that this thing provides too.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap brace.
So now let's listen.
You guessed it was fast. Dead prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me this spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass, buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon.
Cool. So we have a much smoother sound. It's warmer. Now, what we also have going into the lead Vox now is the Mixwave plugin. I like this. It's just everything is about adding warmth and weight, but not adding warmth to a point where it takes away from the clarity. Just really just focusing on adding weight, especially with Fashawn's vocals and his recording setup. So let's listen to that before and after.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS just a splash. I reckon you mad at my.
So that just adds some fatness to the vocals. Now, one thing that I do is I have the parallel Vox, and that parallel Vox I have VLC. Oops, a little interesting. That's what I had going on. I have this track comp, which is doing 1176 emulation. And then I have the Mixhead plugin. So let's go ahead and bring that in. Now you guys are going to hear a level of weight and push added to the vocals now, okay?
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS just a splash. I reckon you mad.
So this makes a huge difference. I typically mix with this on from the get-go. But yeah, that makes a huge difference. Let's see what we're doing.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast.
So that is the parallel vocal setup right there. Let's go over the effects. So the effects for music like this, it's not swimming in reverb. You just want some effects to just kind of just put it in the arrangement with everything else. So let's cover that first. So first one is going to be the early, which is early reflections. I have a de-esser ripping out a lot of 4K. I do not want any harshness or sibilance in my reverb because then it just affects the tail, and you don't want something like harshness and sibilance just dragging on through a reverb tail. So we have that. We have the same de-esser right here, and then this was a preset Valhalla Vintage Verb. I know a lot of you guys have this one. Very short. Yeah, it just helps put the vocals into space. So the preset, if you go to Sanctuary and go to vocal spread, it literally starts you off there. The only thing I did was dial back the high cut filter. That's it. So let's go ahead and bring that in and out.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS just a splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a.
It just adds some space around the vocals. And then we have the slap, which is the same first two plugins. The H delay on Ping Pong at 16th note. Not even doing anything here. And then Mixwave plugin. So let's bring that in. And these are both meant to be felt, not necessarily heard. So
you guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS just a splash. I reckon you mad at my fresh.
Cool, so you guys can kind of hear it once it stops. On the all effects, I just had the VLC and then the Mixwave on. And I remember putting the Mixwave on. Usually I don't put the VLC on the all effects because I put it on the individual, but I think I really just wanted it to be super warm. So, or just remove gently that high end. And this is magic on that. So we did that. And let's see, the only other thing would have been the all Vox or the El Rey. compressor.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my friend.
That's the lead Vox, guys. Now I'll bring in the dubs. I just kept the same chain on from the dubs. Let's see how these actually blend in.
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work on you hecklers when a heckler blast. My necklace glass. Buckets of VVS is the splash. I reckon you mad at my fresher than a peppermint swag. This rap race is a drag. You always stepping in last. Blessing with game is.
And then the background vocals, what I did is I like just putting this SPL Vitalizer on, and then I'll just put the stereo expander to like 9 o'clock like that, and then pretty much
You guessed it was Fash. Dead Prezzies left in the stash. I might just buy a Tesla to crash. Expect me to spaz. I do crowd work.
Yeah, I like putting this on the background vocals because it not only widens it, but it also pushes it a little bit further back in the stereo field. So guys, that is the lead vocals, and with a quick guest appearance of the background vocals on Fashion's verse, Santiago and Nina featuring Vel 9 off of the You Owe Us With Interest project. If you have any questions, drop them below, like, subscribe, and you guys come check me out on my my Instagram at Crispy Akiyama, and same thing for my YouTube. Be good to yourselves. Watch out.